Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody doing? Am I back? Everybody at BotCon? How's it going? It is Friday night. You have found yourself, sadly, with me at 10 o'clock tonight at some point in the globe here. I am on the East Coast of America. You're watching the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer, where we talk about toys and all that good stuff. And it's been a few weeks, so I was at PowerCon, and then I had an opportunity to go visit some childhood friends for a birthday bash, and I did that and had a good time. And while I did that, I made a bunch of art, which some of you may have seen on my Instagram, ArcherMonster_creative, where I've started drawing on instruction sheets, and that has been a wild week for me, but we will talk about that later. Just quick shout outs. How's everybody doing? Bing Bong Toys, how are you? Wind Charger, welcome to the chat. Cheesier, how's it going? And as always, Ninjatron, how are you tonight? Titus. So yeah, I was at PowerCon 2 weeks ago with Marcelo and Ken and Emiliano and Eric Siebenahler. We had a great time reminiscing and just being in the same space. A bunch of guys that created together for a long time. We'd never actually been all five of us together. I hadn't realized that. One was always missing. So yeah, I went out a little earlier. Tomorrow is my actual birthday. I don't normally make a big deal out of my personal business, but tomorrow's my birthday, so I went down and saw my wife while she was working and hung out with her at her drinking establishment and had a nice time. So it's nice to be back, a little loose. And we're going to celebrate a little bit of Armada birthday today. I cannot believe it has been as long as it has been. It means I'm old. So I'm just checking out who is here and how it's all going. And let's see here. Am I coming through fine? So another thing, while I'm on the personal tip, I guess, tonight will be the I might do my podcast from a different location for the next few weeks. My mom is getting out of rehab, and I am the designated responsible child to look after her, so I may spend some Friday nights in a different location. We won't change the podcast per se, but I might not have my cool background. Which is fine. Mom is more important than my background. But I'm still committed to the podcast. But be prepared for a slight change, perhaps. And yeah, so back in 2001, I moved to Rhode Island, and we were working on both Armada and RID. And I believe RID came out in 2002, and then in August of 2003 is when Armada debuted. So we are talking 20 years ago, and I was 27 at the time, I believe, working on the beginnings of Armada, and it came out right before my birthday. So always a little bit of an odd time because corresponded with my birthday, thinking back at that. So let's look at a few things. I got something kind of strange here that most people would not think of as a collectible per se. But if you remember TV Guide, this is how we used to figure out what was on the TV and when. They have a little snippet here of what would go on to become Armada. and talk about it coming back and all that good jazz. So I kept this all those years. This is from August 31st, 2022. Fridays at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hasbro introduces a new line of toys, including Minicon robot figures that attach to larger Transformers such as Optimus Prime. Also out, original episodes on DVD. It's all part of what Toy Fair magazine editor Doug Goldstein of Robot Chicken fame calls a huge 80s boom, with He-Man, G.I. Joe, Thundercats all returning. Next thing you know, we'll be telling us that Alf is back. Oh, wait, he is. All right, so that is the Wayback Machine on that one. The actual gears of progress on how shows get made back in the day. Advertising like that was a big deal. How's it going, Claudio? El Kevo? How's it going? Let's see. I got a few things. Some of you have seen some of these things, but I haven't pulled all of it out. Got the old Dreamwave comic books in trade paperback form. Got trade paperback 1 here that covers the Decepticons feeding off the energy of the captured Minicons are about to begin a hostile takeover of the Transformers' home planet, Cybertron. Do Optimus Prime and the heroic Autobots stand a chance of defending the planet against these superpowered villains? And will the Minicons ever get back their freedom? The action is so explosive that shockwaves will shake not only Cybertron, but the planet Earth to its core. Wow, that seems serious. But no, these were fun. These were fun to have, kind of an end of an era as far as having cartoon and comic book tie-ins and whatnot. And then the Minicons had a much better life in Armada than they did in the comic book and than they did in the cartoon, where they were more functional, active, talking characters. So that's kind of fun. And really don't see that art a lot. A lot of that stuff's not really ever been reprinted anywhere. Kind of came and went. Whole bunch of fun stuff. Let's see. And then we all remember these little doo-doo-doos. The Impact comic book / catalog. This isn't the first one. This is a later one. But Armada is also like the end of that era as well, where something was going to come with a full catalog and comic book, which just is kind of a bygone era, I got to admit at this point. I got the beasts in there. So just pulling out some of the Armada things I have kind of close by me here to have some fun with. The new addition tonight, ladies and gentlemen, over my shoulder, my BotCon Megatron. I found, since I've talked last, on my way to PowerCon, I went to find some of my toys in my storage closet, and I checked out a giant tub that I didn't know I had, and it was full of Japanese packaged Armada figures and my loose Unicron and a bag of Minicons of all sorts, cool Minicons that I must have had on the ring of the Unicron at some point. But what I want to show you is, if you can tell right there, that is the Fire Saber sword from Japan that was in that bag. So it's the Star Saber sword in orange, red, and white, and clear. That's kind of the new, funky new addition over on this side since last we spoke. So, who owns the Dreamwave art now? That's a good question. Physically, who owns the physical pieces? That can be with various artists, collectors, enthusiasts, and wherever it ended up. The rights to the actual printed materials and content are retained by Hasbro, and they have all those files if they wanted to do something with them. Hasbro retains all ownership of the content proper. They don't care about owning the artwork and the individual pieces of paper per se. It's what they can do with the rest of it. Hey Alan, how are you? Happy Friday. So let's look at some other stuff. Ooh, here's while we're on the comics, here's the shiny Armada #1. I had so many of these at one point. This one's pretty nice. It's still kind of minty. I can't believe not being in a bag. It's so minty, but very cool. Very cool wraparound cover with on the kind of hologram substrate. Kind of fun. Kind of made a big deal. I mean, Armada 1 was still kind of an opportunity in the old era, to make a big drop, and some of those comics sold pretty well. Yeah. Did you buy Armada a drink for its birthday? I did not. Yeah, anybody that brings a pile of instructions to a con, I will gladly draw one for you. In trade or whatever, and also give you a sketchbook, whatever. For those of you haven't seen, let's see, I've packed some of these up, but I've been drawing on the instruction sheets. So the old, vintage instruction sheets kind of stuff. Got a few signal flares. And anyway, I draw on them with Posca markers, and they end up like this. So I've been doing that all week, and those things have been very popular and fun to do. And I have a nice stack of the paper, but they're not always the main characters, and they're in various conditions, so I can only use stuff that's at a decent level given the age. So if you are in possession of a stack of old Unicron Trilogy era instruction sheets that you would like to donate to my cause, I'll make it worth your while and draw you something fun. So keep that in mind. You can check me down on the Instagram, ArcherMonster_creative. What was your favorite English Armada voice actor? The ones that felt oof. I say this a lot, Chaotic Neutral. I left the animation to animation professionals, as long as we were kind of laying down a tactical plan on how to market the whole enterprise. I was cool, so I don't have that level of opinion, I guess, on the voice acting. I also knew that depending on where it was getting produced and who was working on it and the situation, it's not like you always have it. It ends up how it ends up, under the best intentions. So I don't really think about it personally too much. So I don't have an answer. Well, we should talk, Alan. So let's look at some more Armada stuff. I've shown this before. This is not terribly expensive to still track down, using the package art that Dreamwave did largely. And they created a little stat book, kind of like taking the bio, the stats, the photography, the illustrations, and leveraging it somehow. And what is cool about this one is that you don't always see the combined Optimus wasn't always a part of the kind of overall content in general. So that's kind of funky. And there's my Galvatron. Got him right there. I have the original art for that one from Don, which is fun. Looks like we got a super chat from Shari. What are your 2 favorite toys from Armada? Thank you for the super chat. £2, the super chat looks like. My 2 favorite, that's a good one. 2 favorite gives me some fluidity there. I'm going to have to say Megatron is going to be one of them. Hard pressed not to say Unicron probably after. From Armada. Yeah, Unicron and Megatron are going to probably be my 2. Jetfire would be up there. But I think that I'll stick with those 2. Overload is a unique figure for sure. And, Galvatron colors are fun. Sure. We were really trying to do different stuff back then, so the color blend on all those combo figures is kind of funny at times, but I'm not sure we ever designed it to go together that way, so it's not planned. All right, I don't think I've shown this one recently. Back in the day, the Prima guide to the Transformers game that was based on the Armada designs. There's the back cover. Had all the mini-cons. I don't know how many people got to play this game that are still lingering around the fandom. But really cool, slightly different take on some of the proportions of some of the characters. But in general, good fun. If anything, might have fixed some proportions. And some of the mini-cons really got a nice treatment. Some of the what we called the partner mini-cons that came with the deluxe figures and above. Internally, we called those partner mini-cons. Yeah, nice whole map. Whole thing. Do you remember when the 2007 Megatron head got changed because of fan backlash? And was it a big issue behind the scenes? I've thought about this one a couple times, not in the recent memory. What I recall was we made it with a head that they used for pre-production. So we were using a head that was largely an illustration, not even a computer model of any type. And during the development of the movie ILM for emotive purposes and different things, worked with Bay to create a slightly different head. So what I recall is our head was now wrong. And because it was a main character, we wanted the ability to have it look a little bit more like what was in the movie. So there was some sort of running change, but I don't really recall much more beyond that. And I say that because everything was a fire. Everything was kind of behind schedule or needed more. So that was just one of the many issues I can recall at the time that we were dealing with, and that's why I probably don't remember it that much more than that. So to me, it was just a running change head once we had better reference, and we really were committed to trying to not put out the wrong stuff on a main character like that at the time. So that would be my answer. Aaron, there was once a time when the instructions used photos of the toy painted all in white. Was that more complicated than drawn instructions, or pretty much just a brand manager's choice? That is a good question. The overall issue with Transformers and instructions overall is it's a big challenge to make instructions for Transformers. You kind of want to do it right. it is very complex to explain how to move some of those pieces around and show them in a particular position to communicate to change them around. So at different times, for speed and budget, we have approached the instructions a lot of different ways. And yes, because Takara took pictures of the models, we could do photos that way, and that was deemed at the time faster, kind of in a pre-digital world, almost on the edge of a pre-digital world. And now the drawn way is the way they do them. Excuse me. I don't know which is faster or easier. The reason for the change is often just, can we do this cheaper, faster, or that kind of thing. Wish I had a better answer. It also comes down to space. Back when we did the photography Beast Wars, or Beast Machines, I believe, the directions were on the back of the box, and the cards, I believe, if I remember correctly. I don't even know if they had instruction sheets. So it had to be even more simplified to fit on the small scale of a box. What was the process of picking names for Armada characters? Did you name them all? I named a lot of them. I certainly named the bulk of them. Anything that I didn't purposely call out was something that probably came from a brainstorm. The marketing team wasn't that involved at the time on it, and there were so many names coming through. When we moved from Cincinnati to Rhode Island for that first, 7 months, it was kind of like very loose. The new people coming on board, Samantha and Michelle and things, hadn't fully come on board, so we were kind of figuring it all out on our own. It was very strange to not have any kind of leadership there for a little bit. So we really just had to do what we knew how to do, and it was kind of fun because you didn't have a lot of layers. Anyway, so yeah, I picked out the names, and we just came up with names we liked. I had a lot of classic names that I investigated, as well as new stuff. Aaron, there was once a time when the instructor... Oh, we talked about that. Okay, love the Posca work. Thank you. Yeah, the Posca drawings on the glossy paper seem to really work. I kind of work very fluidly anyway, so they almost work better for me than canvases or even paper, because they kind of get wet and flow. As long as the markers are juicy, so to speak, it's pretty good. Let's pull out another one of these guys. Or did I seal them up? I can unpack it. So yeah, I'm doing those Posca right on the paper. I'm not doing any underlays or anything. But because it's acrylic, it sticks really well. Here's where this guy ended up. So you can see it's still on the folded paper. The photos I take don't really show the folds as much, but it's right there on the old instruction paper. But it's real flat. And then I am able to fold it back up pretty effectively and kind of ship it flat that way. And I appreciate anybody that's tried to pick one up or has picked one up. I don't know what is happening, but it seems like each one of these I put out is gone within a short time. So it's been a wild week going to the post office, but a thankful and appreciative week doing that. I don't know that I've had anything. I talk about my other art all the time, but this has taken off, so it's been kind of cool. So where was I? That Armada game was too tough for me. I'm not a gamer, so I never made it past Starscream. and I had to watch the video of the tidal wave layer. Do you remember anything about Ejector, the toaster? Or at least I think he was a toaster. Not too much. I think that was just a joke. What's the story behind the Scrub Daddy on the shelf? That is funny. The Scrub Daddy is in the primary position tonight because that is what my son got me today at Home Depot for my birthday. He said, "Daddy, you need the Scrub Daddy." So I have the Scrub Daddy, and knocking the lights. I don't know. I'm going out on a limb because of the packaging and the goofy names, and I look at this as like almost like a collector toy. I'm not even sure it's a sponge. I think somebody's having a laugh and Home Depot's buying it. This totally feels like a independent toy to me. Everything about it. So yeah, I up here proud today. That is why. And that is the kind of gift you give a toy designer, a sponge. Did you name everyone in Robots in Disguise 2001 too? I did not. I did participate. I had when they started the naming process on that, I was part of a special projects team, and I was coming over, I believe, just then to do Transformers, but they had already had brainstorms on it. I was part of those brainstorms. I think I came up with, I think my big contribution on RID were the dumb names that we had to figure out. The Wars and the Skidsies and some of those weird names are mine. Sideburn, Hotshot. Hotshot was mine. Anyway, so not all of them. Whose idea was it to have Tidal Wave doing push-ups in the after credit? I don't even know. Are you looking forward to the new Missing Link Optimus Prime? I've been reading about that. I'm still trying to understand what it is, but I haven't gotten too deep into it either. Do you actually use the Scrub Daddy? It seems like it's a pretty impressive sponge. But now it's part of my toy collection. So, if you watch the show Gumball, it feels like that for me. Like there's just everything can be a character. We could not use the name Brawn at the time. It was not available to Hasbro to use, so the X Brawn was just how we did it, how we modified it at the time. And I believe that might have been my goofy idea. Yeah, right? It does look like some sort of Funko product. It totally, to me, somebody's having a laugh at Home Depot's expense. Oh yeah, those would be some fun manuals. Well, unfortunately, the good people at Scrub Daddy Sponges already got the Scrub Daddy name. So, what kind of toys does your son like? Legos. Pretty much Legos. And if it's not Lego, it should have a Nintendo logo on it. So, he's properly going about becoming a fan of some of that nature. Speaking of paint adhering well, I have often wondered this as I paint my own toys. How long does factory applied paint take to cure and be ready to handle? It tends to be pretty quick. It's pretty adhesive at the time it goes on. And different times I've heard of them curing it to bake it on or bind it, I would say, to the plastic. But yeah, I don't know how it's currently done, and it's been a long time. Yeah, Rotor, Movor. I believe those are mine as well. I apologize. Yeah, I was a young designer trying to figure it all out. Not terrible names, but, kind of a lot of things just thrown at the wall. Will you have any upcoming videos discussing Transformers, Energon, and Cybertron like you did for Armada? Yes. Protoman and I definitely wanted to get through a bulk of different brands and certainly start and hit heavily Armada, which we have, to get past the anniversaries and stuff that we've celebrated this year and the reissues of Hot Shot and Starscream and the like. So now we probably will get to Energon. We'll probably do it in order, so we won't get to Cybertron for a bit, but it is on the list for sure. Someone said they added it because it sounded cool. Roll bar on high octane, or the X-Bron. Yeah, maybe. You had to. I mean, if we had to add a modifier, we wanted something that sounded somewhat interesting. I sold Scrub Daddy when I worked at retail. Actually, know way too much about them. That's funny. It's funny. Yeah, like everything about that to me just is something you would find at Designer Con. Do you have any memories of Hasbro UK that you can share? Yeah, I worked a few weeks in the Hasbro UK office, Stockley Park, not far from Heathrow. I mostly worked on Action Man while I was there, and G.I. Joe, not related to my time on Transformers at all. It was mostly Action Man. So, wow, we're already past the halfway mark. You're at the Toy Armada with Aaron Archer. We're talking a little bit of Armada and just generally catching up and talking Transformers likely. But, yeah, so if you have found yourself here and you like to talk toys or want to know about 90s toy lines, like and subscribe. Check out the long form videos. We just dropped Beyblade about a month ago, a little less. And on our way to a few more here. So thanks for being here. So what else in the UK office? They had a really cool cafeteria. Yeah, but I was mostly on Action Man. I did get to work with a guy named Martin who did the G2 era items that were kind of made to honor the contract at the time. So he's another non-Japanese person that guided the brand for a little bit. Unfortunately, he's passed away several years ago now as well, so I won't be able to get that story. But good guy, and but that's my story of the UK. I had a badge for a while. I got it somewhere. What was your favorite bit gift you ever received as a kid? Favorite bot gift? I don't know. I was big in the Shogun Warriors and or G.I. Joe. What was the coolest thing? What was the coolest thing I saw at PowerCon? I saw a Gold Drake, which is a Grandizer in French box, 2 feet tall, 24-inch item. It was like $2,300, but the box was mint, unbelievably mint, and it was just like, wow. And then one couple people had them, but one had a few illustrations from the He-Man package art, like 12 grand kind of stuff, but really cool to see. That was some of the cool stuff I saw. PowerCon tends to be a high-end vintage toy show. If you want to go get mint and graded and rare boxed items, you can kind of find stuff there in that zone. I played it cool and did not buy anything. Had a good time with my friends. That's kind of where I put my time. I recently got my Legacy Armada Megatron. Great design, cool rotating cannon. Yep, it does need a bunch of minicons, that is for sure. And a tidal wave would be cool. Happy birthday. Why do you think Transformers as a brand has endured so well? Great products, great fiction, great brand management, all of the above, something else. Wow, JWM Vid, great question. And it can easily spin me off into a greater franchise kind of conversation overall about management of franchises, but I'll spare that a little bit tonight. I think Transformers has a couple great things going for it. It is puzzle play. I think it is undeniable that people want to understand puzzles, solve puzzles, and Transformers are a really interesting one. It's a car or an item, a weapon that turns into a robot. And that is compelling. People want to try to turn it into the robot or back into the vehicle, and it's a challenge whether they can. And that human nature to solve a puzzle is I think, very much key. Then you have it being robots, which means us as viewers, as human viewers, can imprint whatever we want on these robots, even if they have personalities and stuff. We come at them a little bit different than we would the G.I. Joe cast, as far as our openness, because they're robots, to have them evolve. So that's the next part of it. Transformers is also about change and conversion and transformation, and it is embedded into that dynamic that the shows, the storylines, the characters themselves can grow and change and become something different. Optimus has been various red trucks, various big apes, various flying shuttle, fire truck things. That is a nature to the core character, the core iconic elements and colors, and face details that you can get away with that. Great question. So I think it is a combination of all of that. Great puzzle play, a imprintable kind of storyline that anybody can overlay their own hopes and dreams onto, and it just makes it fun. How does Action Man differ from G.I. Joe? Mostly it's a name difference and an attitude difference. Action Man is not anymore a military-connected guy. He's more like a James Bond, whereas G.I. Joe is certainly a military unit of some sort, quasi-military or United Nations kind of arm, something. So the two never fit well because they didn't, in England and in the UK where they sold those things, they're not so rah about the military side of just toys in general. So they put more story flair onto what they did. And Action Man became an expert at all vehicle types and fighting types and weapon types and, anything. So slightly different in that front. Yeah, Ruination. I don't know. All those things were individually going down the line. The new minicons don't have the peg. Huh, they don't. That's weird. You would think that's all they would need. Have you seen any recent Diaclone releases? I looked around TFCon and happily did not find any, so I saved my money. I do like all of those, but they are way too expensive for me as I'm not a toy collector and I can't totally go with that expense. They are crazy to find. I have a few of very small pieces, very small. Also, Transformers doesn't really have any real comparative toy line I can think of in the West. But no, Transformers stands on its own in a way. I mean, GoBots doesn't count. I mean, it's similar, but they don't. Was there any reason why certain Armada characters, Wheeljack, Blur, Scavenger, Sideswipe, didn't receive Power Links colors during Armada? Yeah, they just didn't get redecoed. That Power Links was just the redeco format, and they probably picked either the molds that were available or popular that could use, and those guys just didn't make the cut. And some of those got redecoed in other areas. Which G.I. Joe Resolute comic is that on the shelf? That's the DVD. That is the DVD of G.I. Joe Resolute. Good eye. Who are some of your primary artist inspirations? Well, that is the easiest thing for me to pull out. So, I'm big into this guy. I like the style of painting that doesn't look all that detailed if you isolate a certain area, but if you pull back, all of a sudden it's a spaceship or something. I think you can see a little bit of that on my Posca drawings. So John Berkey is a big influence. I go down the line. Bernie Wrightson, William Stout, guy named Gary Gianni. There's a French artist that I would butcher her name if I said it. But I really like French fantasy comics if I can find them. And then Amano, huge influence. I don't draw like any of these people, but they are influences on me. Katsuhiro. Yeah, all of them. I'm a junkie for reference, so Mobius, James Jean, Tarada. I could just keep going. I am a reference junkie, artist junkie. Mike Mignola, George Bridgman, Brian Froud. Yeah. All right, enough of that. Yeah, Studio Series Hound would be cool. G.I. Joe Resolute, that was fun. Didn't quite work out the way we thought it would, but that's a story for another day. What's the artist that did the concept art for the proposed Dune movie years ago? Probably Mobius, but it could have also been Esteban somebody. Starts with an M, I think. Could have been him too. Depends how psychedelic it was. Yeah, but I got a lot of fun books. I like these French editions. So this is the art of the Fifth Element in French, with Mobius, kind of all his stuff. So I got a lot of crazy books. I could probably have a whole separate podcast where I just showed artist books and sketchbooks and rare books and Kickstarter books and movie adaptions and all of that. I mean, it's really where my passion is, probably. Do you have a favorite Bumblebee movie design? No, not so much. I like it all. It's fine. Yeah, we'll have to get to some G.I. Joe stuff before too long. It's just it's a shame I can't get John Warden in on it. But I'm sure there's a short form of some stuff we can do. If you did a stream about your art books, I'd absolutely watch. Yeah, I've talked a lot about them at different times. That was my thing for a long time, to find and buy unique, hard-to-find books. And it all started with this sucker right here. The hardback version of this that escaped me as a child, and then I was able to track down as an adult. One of these, I believe, is signed, because I have multiple copies, because I'm a real choice fool. Oh, there it is. So, so this is kind of how I roll in my personal collection. I try to get the autographs and whatnot. Yeah, this is the first edition American one. The other hardback is the first edition English. And I have the first edition softcover. And then I have the redo so that I can actually look through these books. Yeah, so Brian Froud makes the cut for sure. There's kind of a hint at some of the nonsense sitting next to me. And it just keeps going and going and going. And it goes all the way down. I have not seen Rise of the Beasts. Yeah, one aspect of the podcast that I haven't got to is the live drawing and art aspect of that. But that'll come. That'll be something that I roll into once I get a good flow going. Kids back in school and such good stuff. Yeah, I mean, I'm a monster drawer a lot because of Dark Crystal. That definitely was an influence. I saw that back when it came out. I was 10. I remember being mesmerized by it, didn't quite understand it at the end, and was just like, what did I just witness? And been chasing that dragon ever since. Did you ever want Ultra Magnus in Armada? I did not. I talk about when we were reestablishing the main characters, we didn't want to confuse anybody or have any confusion around who was the leader. So we didn't really present Hot Rod or Rodimus as that type of character that he had been in the past. And Ultra Magnus kind of fell into that because he was Optimus's white body. So we kind of steered away from those on those early days just to kind of be clean. And then he really didn't come back in any kind of meaningful way until animated. The Optimal Optimus toy was one of your first Transformers. What changes would you make to the design today? Well, I just guided a couple of talented dudes that really pulled it together. I don't know if I'd have the arm panels blowing off the way they did, although that was kind of powerful and cool at the time. Probably something a little more overt than that now, but that's a long way to go back to criticize an item. I don't think I do have Paramount Plus. I don't have a time to watch a lot of stuff, so. What Armada design would you like to see a live-action adaptation of? I feel like animated Demolisher or Cyclonus would look amazing in the movies. You know, Demolisher would be pretty cool and pretty easy to do. Cyclonus is a wackadoo helicopter, so I don't know. I don't know. But Demolisher, they could probably do something fun with. Animated. How was that for you? Animated was fun. Animated came at a time when we had made so many Unicron trilogy toys and RID and Beast Wars before that we wanted a different form factor, and we wanted to figure out if we could get the form factor of Beast Wars articulation and body shapes with the vehicles that we had been doing. And that was that challenge, to get human proportions and a different vibe. So I think they achieved it. Eric and Derek, and Derek and Eric. I know that Overload got Ultra Magnus Deco, which I have and definitely loved as a kid. Yeah, that was just, we had to get that item out. We didn't think they were going to have the Energon price point model done, so we redecoed that Overload as Ultra Magnus. And what I always say about that one, ladies and gentlemen, if you have the Ultra Magnus Overload redeco, I can't talk real numbers because I'm not really sure, but in my mind and feeling, based on all the time I spent in toys, Ultra Magnus redeco there is one of the rarest production items that I'm aware of. It wasn't an exclusive. It wasn't a retailer limited or country limited necessarily. But once we got production up and running, that other model came online and we shifted really quickly. So there really is not a lot of those Ultra Magnus. To me, that is the shortest run production item that I'm aware of. So there you go. Besides Dark Crystal, what's another movie that greatly impacted you? Aliens, probably. Big one. Predator. Planet of the Apes series was a big one as a kid. I've recently also thought about it, and Planet of the Apes was probably my first franchise that I really bought into and followed the movies. And they used to do marathons every night, a different Apes movie. They had the cartoon, they had the comic book in the 70s, and so Apes was probably one of the first franchises I clung on to. I remember I didn't like Animated as a kid because it wasn't the same aesthetic as Unicron Trilogy. Yeah, and that was a reason to do it. So for a long time we did it one way, and then we purposely go a different way, and that can be jarring. But I think we were probably considering a lot of the Unicron Trilogy kids aging out at that point, and try something new to get the new kids to go, oh, that's that old stuff. Oh, something new for me. And that's why you make such a drastic change. Would you say the co-development helped establish a new standard for Transformers toys going forward? Yeah, I don't think of it in those terms necessarily, but I'd be proud to say that. We were able to get a larger group of people sharing innovative ideas and thought processes and manage the brand together, or see how each other managed the brand in their markets, that it had to make everything better. It certainly had the effect of amping everyone's knowledge up. So that definitely set a new standard, and one they're probably still generally using today. Have you ever seen the Simpsons Transformers parody? I think so, long time ago. What the CA got you pushing too many panzers? I don't know what. I was definitely a part of that aughts anime generation. Yeah, so anime was big. Cartoon Network was doing well with it in a way. So animated kind of fit the mold at Cartoon Network at the time. So that's why it also had a different look. I have an Ultra Magnus, and supposedly it was because somebody returned it to the store and put it back out for sale. Wow. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. I had a good job. I had fun doing the job. I had fun with the results of that job being popular or memorable. And I think it's a testament to the fun I was having back then and Hasbro was having that we're talking about 20th anniversary here today on Armada. And we're just going to have more anniversaries because I did Energon and Cybertron and Masterpiece and Alternators. So we're just going to keep having anniversaries, and then the movie's going to be 20 years old. And, so that's how it's going to go. Predator joke. Oh, sorry. Oh, there you go. I got it now. If you were a Maximal, what animal would you be? It's a good question. Good question. Probably be a bird. Probably be an eagle, a falcon, something like that. Loner. Yeah, even the look of the toys we were trying to mimic on the animated product, a certain different look. So yeah, we definitely did do the matte finish or the non-glossy finish. The fact that you were my age making Armada kind of scares me. That was a lot of responsibility. I started in the toy game when I was 4 months. I was 22 for 4 months. I just basically turned 22. And yes, I was thrown in, and we were making toys immediately on Batman. And so by the time that I got to Transformers, I already had 6 years in and had worked with Lucasfilm, Warner Brothers, Fox, DC Comics, at least, and probably Warner Animation I could throw in there. All the different divisions of Batman each had their own kind of grouping. Warner licensing. So I had a lot of experience by the time I was 27, 28 when I was doing Armada. But I admit, looking back now, that was incredibly young, and kind of. I always say that I was given a great responsibility by Alan Hassenfeld and Al Verrecchia and certainly Brian Goldner to create a vision for their goal. Their goal was to make the co-development work again, make products that are global, get back to those basics, and make a collectible line out of it. And they let me go and do it without a lot of oversight, without a lot of questioning, without a lot of nitpicking. They let us go make a show with the Japanese that no one really had much oversight on either. And, the result was the result. I'll let everybody else decide how impactful it was or not. But it is amazing at that age that I had the wherewithal to do it. And I often say that getting the training growing up with Transformers and G.I. Joe from the Hasbro side of things did make it easy for me to kind of transition into doing that, because I understood kind of how they had done what they had did intrinsically growing up with it. So, yeah, I don't think that would happen today. So anyway, I got to go on a little diatribe. I don't talk about myself and my contribution in that regard too much, but yeah, at that time it was pretty amazing. For you personally, what quantities make an awesome Batman toy? For me, a good Batman toy has a good story of why he's wearing the outfit. I have a belief that Batman can make anything to achieve any goal he has, and he has the ability to figure out how to overcome any problem, so he can make a lot of cool suits. So as long as they make fun sense, I'm all for it. Did you ever feel overwhelmed designing toys for these massive brands? Not really. That's my humble truth, but it was so corporate in the way of just we were grinding through these projects, and there were schedules and things you just had to get approved, and that you didn't really have time to sit there and like you would in college or a personal project, and kind of debate in your head whether things were good or bad, or, are people going to like this? You kind of just go. And you get the input from the people around you, from the professionals around you, whether things are going to be interesting or not. They'll tell you, oh, that's a cool sculpt, or that's your sculpt, and you'd know, oh, I better work on that a little bit, So I don't know if I got too overwhelmed. The time I got most overwhelmed on anything, I think, in my entire time at Hasbro, toy-wise, was I had to do all the first wave Armada deco sheets at the same time. And at the time, we were still moving parts on the mold around. So it was like this crazy, imagine a Minicon having 5 molds, a Minicon team, but it had some ability to move them around. This was on paper, so I had to move them like by crossing out the piece on one mold and putting it on the other, and remembering and transposing what colors to make the deco sheets then. And that just was a lot of, you kind of had to think everything through, and you're thinking across 4 or 5 molds, across 70 pieces, 3 materials. Some materials can't do other things, can't be painted, can't work with other materials. So that's the most I ever, and I had I don't know, I stayed back. I didn't go to Thanksgiving that year. I stayed back and did that all week, the Thanksgiving weekend. And that's all I did for 4 days was those deco sheets for the first wave. So that tells you where we were in the timeline. So around Thanksgiving. That was the most nervous I ever had, just because it was such a technical part of the job. And then I had to re-communicate that back to Takara, where I wanted all these parts to be moved, and hopefully did it right. Do you prefer Dinosaur Megatron or Dragon Megatron? I'm going to start with the dinosaur. I like that he hulks out maybe as a dragon, but can't beat a T-Rex. What was the original idea for Sideways? Was he always supposed to be we didn't know if he was going to be a minion of Unicron, but he was definitely always had the dual left or right, good or bad kind of thing. I don't think it would be an understatement to say it saved the brand from just being a nostalgia brand. Yeah. I think the fact that they did Beast Wars, and then the Unicron trilogy, and then Alternators and different things, it makes the whole brand a wide net. It's not just one thing anymore. So I'm glad people enjoy the Unicron trilogy and Armada particularly. I imagine getting a Unicron for Christmas would have been as awesome as a kid, that was a fan of Transformers could hope for. So if nothing else, that's a cool thing to be a part of. What was your favorite TF movie? The 86 cartoon count? Probably the first one. I mean, just the ride I went on with the first one. I'm not going to be able to top that. No, Overload is largely, I think it's a Joe Kide / Eric Siebenhaler. I had very little to do with it. Yeah, very little to do with it. So, that's going to probably be it for tonight. So it was nice to just get back in the flow a little bit and talking. I'm going to keep putting up the Posca paintings. I got a big one here I'm going to do of Ultra Magnus from Energon. Got a bunch of crew locks and signal flares and basic items. Don't have a lot of the main character guys necessarily, so if anybody does have a stack, let me know. We'll work something out. I have all 3 of the RID train guys, so I might do a kind of a cool multi thing. So we'll see. So keep checking those out. If anybody was hoping to find one, I will keep putting them up. But with all humbleness, they go as fast as I can put them up, and it's been pretty amazing. So I will try to continue to put one up a day at least. But forgive me if I don't get something up there tomorrow. I'm going to be celebrating my birthday and working in the yard, giving back to the yard rather than taking from stuff. So that's what's going on with me. Good to see everybody. El Kevo, Alan, Bing Bong, Shattered, Shoddy, Ninja, Wind Charger, bombing in here today. Welcome. Chaotic Neutral. So it's good to see so many familiar faces. Sorry I've been gone for a few weeks. I will try to be more diligent about that. We'll see what we do next week. I don't have a particular topic, but maybe we'll start in on the Energon. Who knows? Or I will do a live draw perhaps while I talk about whatever. You don't need to see my head, but maybe I'll draw one of these Posca things next week in my new setup. All right. So thanks for the birthday wishes, both for me and Armada. Appreciate all the appreciation of what will go down as my probably most significant toy work and contribution, at least set the table for me. So it's great that we've had this anniversary, and we can keep going. Now we'll celebrate the other stuff. All right, so thanks everyone. If you haven't noticed, I also have a merch store, Toy Armada merch store, I think is what it's called. But it should be underneath the videos here or on some of the long form videos. So check that out if you're into that such thing, and like and subscribe. And we will see you probably tomorrow on the Slag podcast. All right. So thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate it, and we'll see you again soon.